The best efficient leveling strat is back on the menu with Season of the Deeps, so let's talk about it. Recently, Bungie has said they're updating their Vanguard bounties with Season of the Deep's launch and reverting their previous change to them, where most of the bounties had to be completed inside of a Vanguard playlist, which was terrible, by the way. This means there's no longer a restriction on where you complete Vanguard bounties, and essentially means the return of the Disgraced strategy. For those of you new or unaware, the Disgraced strat was my own spin on optimized or max efficiency leveling in Destiny for people who don't want to use AFK farms, essentially, or macros. It was so good to the point where I was able to use this during the 6-month-long Season of Lost, I believe it was, to level my pass to rank 2402 as a sub-goal. And yes, 2402 for the meme, literally. So how does this work and why is it efficient? So, as the name suggests, we'll be taking advantage of the Disgraced strike on the Cosmodrome specifically here, and we'll be using a bounty system to do it. Now, I know what some of you might be already thinking. Bounties, really? That's your big plan? Yes, bounties, but not just any random bounties. This setup in particular allows you to optimize your leveling significantly faster than any other bounty setup in the game, and allows you to gain anywhere from 8 to 12 levels a day. And the best part is it's incredibly easy, and it takes less than 1 hour to do on any day. So no matter if you're a daily player or somebody that only plays a few times a week, everyone can benefit from this and use it to reach a max season pass, extra artifact levels, or just farming out extra bright engrams for cosmetics. Meanwhile, other methods, such as completing powerfuls for XP or doing weekly bounties, take double, if not triple the time investment, while you only see a fraction of the gain in the progress versus the Disgraced strat. So let's get into actually how you accomplish this. First thing you'll need is to put on Blinding Light on your Ghost for an extra 12% more gain in XP everywhere in the game. Next, you need to head to the tower. Hey, Sneak from the future here. Unfortunately, we are in a 1 step forward, 2 steps back situation here, so Bungie did update the bounties, and now it does say, defeating them in Vanguard playlist grants additional progress. You can do this anywhere, just more progress in the playlist. However, that's for dailies, and for repeatables, for some reason, it still says do in Vanguard playlist. And that kind of sucks, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why they wouldn't touch the repeatables. It is what it is. So if you're doing repeatables, you still have to be in a playlist. That sucks. Whatever. You can still do everything else in this strat, though. Also, while we're at it, here is the current seasonal vendor for Season of the Deep, the Sonar Station. You can do these bounties in Salvage, or you can pick up these right here, like Rifle Aquanaut, Powerful Aquanaut, and Unnatural Electrolysis. I don't know, butchering that? Anyway, yeah, so you can pick up these and do them along with the Vanguard, Banshee, and Shahan bounties. Alright, back to the rest of the video. From here, you'll be talking to 2 vendors. First up is Zavala. Now that the bounties are fixed and you don't need to worry about Vanguard playlist restrictions, go ahead and pick up all 9 bounties from him. Small note here, depending on what class you're on, you may want to avoid certain repeatable bounties. For example, on Warlock, you might want to avoid a 25 kill melee bounty, but prefer 25 kill grenade bounties, as those come easy for Warlocks. Same thing would apply to Hunters and Titans. You may want to avoid the grenade bounty, but you would excel in the melee bounty. In the end, it's all preference, of course. After visiting Zavala, head over to Banshee and pick up all 9 bounties from him as well. Here it doesn't matter what he gives you, as you should have access to basically every weapon type for his bounties. Now, you may not have a particular weapon out the gate for some of the bounties right away, but don't worry, this is easily fixed by just using your collections. You can print out a blue or a legendary for virtually everything that you could possibly need for very little cost. For example, let's say there's a bounty for linear fusion kills, but you don't own a linear fusion currently. You can go into your collections and print out a King Cobra rare blue linear fusion rifle and use that for the bounty, and all it costs you is a measly 777 Glimmer. Your next destination is the Helm, or wherever the seasonal vendor is located for this particular season that you may be watching this video in. That being said, this is being pre-recorded in time for Season 21 launch, so I'll be using the current word table as an example here. It's a common misconception that seasonal bounties must be completed in seasonal activities, and this is not the case. They give you the option to complete them anywhere or inside a seasonal activity for increased progress, but we don't actually need to go inside said activity. So feel free to pick up the 4 daily bounties from the seasonal vendor and then add them to the collection with Zavala and Banshee. Finally, our last stop is the Fortnite guy, Shahan, in the Cosmodrome. These bounties, along with everything else mentioned, can be completed inside the Disgraced Strike, which, wouldn't you know it, happens to be on the Cosmodrome. So you can stack up another 9 bounties from Shahan, plus the 2 weekly bounties if you'd like to get a little spicy. One of them can be guaranteed to be completed inside the Strike, while the other, it requires you to complete a public event. Now, normally I would say to avoid this. However, there is a point in the middle of the strike where you will walk through the Skywatch patrol zone, and you might see a Warsat public event. So just keep that in mind if you want to just, kind of have it on you just in case you can complete it during the strike. Last thing to note about the bounties, avoid the patrol repeatable bounty, as that one cannot be completed in the strike at all. And if you aren't doing the weekly public event bounty, stay away from the possible daily bounty that says complete a public event too. Okay, now that we've collected all our homework, what are we looking at? Somewhere in the ballpark between 31 to 47 bounties to complete, depending on if you stack these for one day or you rolled it over to the next day and picked up dailies for that as well. All of these, though, can be completed in just one Disgraced strike, and that's the beauty of it. One strike, a ton of XP, super easy, and doable on all three characters in under 1 hour. The final part of optimizing this is looking at exactly what you were dealt objective-wise in your bounties, and then stacking the order, if you will. For example, so you want to head over to your bounties and just look at what you were dealt from the vendors. Personally, I like to start with the Vanguard bounties and then make my way down. So, from Zavala, we got GL kills, super kills, void kills, finishers, solar, bow kills, taken, and void. Then I'll look at my weapon kills and try to match those things. So I saw bow, and I saw GL kills, and then some elements. So I'll look through these, and I'll see kinetic, fusion, GL, sword, hand cannon, pulse, another pulse, and then GL. So right there out the gate, I have a connection where I can get GL kills and get 3 or 4 bounties done in one go. For example, I'll pick a void GL, and then I can complete the 2 GL bounties at the same time, as well as the 2 void bounties. So I'm doing a 4-for-1 instead of a 1-for-1 completion on that bounty. Now, the same thing could apply for the other bounties as well. For example, the Seasonal Vendor bounty also has void damage here. And then for the Concentrate bounties, maybe you'll get the bounty that says, hey, get heavy weapon kills, which again, the Void GL would be a heavy weapon. So really, you'd get a 6-for-1 out of that. So just an example, again, I would go to my collections if I didn't have something. By the way, this is my ult, that's why I'm missing a bunch of stuff, don't worry about it. I would go to my collections, and I'd be like, okay, I need Void GL. So I will print this out, 777 Glimmer, whatever, print it out, good to go, right? If you don't have a bow, you do the same thing. You go to the front, go to bows. There's a kinetic bow right here that's a blue that you've probably gotten at least once in your life. So you just print that out, bam, you're good to go. But I imagine most people have bows in their vault anyway. So just as a loadout example, I'm starting out with a Void GL to knock out 6-for-1 in that bounty category. Then I'm starting out with a solar bow in the energy slot if I happen to have one, such as the Vanguard bow that is solar. So then I can knock out solar and bow kills at the same time. Then I'll have a hand cannon or a pulse equipped in my kinetic slot because I've got multiple bounties for that. Once I complete any of those, I would then swap out those slots for something else. For example, I had GL, but then once I finish that, I'll switch to my sword kills because I had a sword kill bounty from Banshee. Then once I finish my pulse kills and my kinetic kills at the same time, because it's a 3-for-1, I would switch to hand cannon, get that done as well. And then if I have an energy slot thing remaining, like let's say energy GL kills, I will swap out my bow after that's done, and then put on something like Harsh Language or Forbearance, etc. For the strike itself, there are some tips to use as well to get the most out of your mileage. For example, in the first room, there will be multiple waves of Fallen. An example is it starts out with Vandals and Captains. Once you've killed enough Captains and Vandals, then you get the next wave spawn to come in on the right-hand side of the room, which will be first Shanks from 2 different doors coming on the right side. After you kill enough Shanks, it'll then be invisible Vandals coming out, or Wretches I believe they're called, from both of the same doors there. Then, once you've killed enough of those, the huge wave comes in on the left-hand side on the top left corner, and that's where the moneymaker is. This is where you would continue to use your abilities. So, for example, if you have a grenade bounty, you throw like a solar grenade or whatever at this door, and you will get your entire bounty done immediately like that. And I do mean immediately. There's like, I don't know, 30, 40 enemies coming out of this door in total. Once the room is opened, you go upstairs, there's more Fallen, and then it'll be a combat section between Fallen and Hive, and there's still a ton of enemies there. Now, the next one to move on to is at the boss room. This, in particular, is just a health gate thing where you need to keep track of the enemy spawns. What I mean by that is, initially, the fight starts, you shoot Navoda, or Omnigul, whatever you want to call her, if you play D1. You shoot her, she gets damage gated, teleports away, goes up top, then more Hives spawn in. Once you kill the Hive, she returns, you keep shooting her. If you damage her a little bit, she'll summon a bunch of Thrall to come at you, and some Curse Thrall as well. You should kill those while you can before pushing her further. Once you do that, more acolytes, knights, and ogres will spawn in, and eventually once you kill all of those, she will again pop back into the room and be damageable. Tickle her a little more, and she will summon even more Curse Thrall and Thrall at you until you finally hit the last damage gate, which will then prompt more acolytes to spawn in. Finally, once she's in her last stand, if you will, she will just be at the bottom of the room where she spawned in initially, and there'll be just a ton of Hive coming at you. Curse Thrall, regular Thrall, Hive Boomers, everything. And I would say probably in total, there's like 400 plus enemies in this strike alone, and that doesn't include the middle part where you're in Skywatch Patrol in the strike, where you can just stand there for unlimited enemies forever if you really felt like it, if you're playing this solo for whatever reason. Finally, the last step in this is to use your Shared Wisdom before handing in all your bounties. If you're unfamiliar with Shared Wisdom, it is a bonus XP perk that you unlock in level 5 of your Season Pass, or anybody else for that matter, because you have to join a fire team member to get this buff. It has to be somewhere in a patrol zone or a social space like the tower. It just cannot be in orbit. You can join any random person on patrol, or you can join a friend at the tower. Just be sure to not be in orbit, and then make sure you have the buff by looking at your character screen and looking for the Shared Wisdom icon there. It will be in the same spot as something like Prime Attunement or Well Rested. Follow these easy steps and you will be at max Season Pass or a high artifact level in no time at all. I hope this helps, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, share, subscribe, maybe hit that notification bell. It does help the channel and is appreciated, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.